There's so much to say about this Worlds, from absolute perfection of rounds coming from Ezra, AB, Ella, and Ida, but this final round was anything but ordinary, with insane chokes, clutch putts, and the true final moments, and so much more. So with that, let's break down how Worlds ended. And a huge shout out to Essie, the sponsor of today's video, helping me make this whole trip come alive. And if you want to stay in the loop for all things disc golf, be sure to subscribe. So real quick, let's talk payouts. As of last year, we were on a solid trajectory where MPO was getting $30,000 and FPO $17,000. But this year it was drastically reduced to $20,000 for MPO and $15,000 for FPO. And as someone that was actually there, seeing the literal 10,000 or more spectators, you would think they would be able to do a bigger payout, or at least equal to previous years, but that was not the case, leading to a bit of confusion, like, is the sport not growing? But no, after today, I can definitely say disc golf has exploded, in the European scene at least, and it is not going away anytime soon. So on to FPO. Going into the final day, my pick was Lehtmäki. She was leading by 1 over Henna, and I think Henna is a phenomenal player, but man, her putting is atrocious. And even saying that out loud, picking Lehtmäki still feels crazy because I didn't even really know who she was just a couple of days ago. If there is a battle between Henna and someone else going neck and neck, I just don't trust anything about Henna's consistency, and in many ways that proved to be a very accurate assertion. So things started off very interesting with Lehtmäki taking a 3-putt on hole 1 and Owen coming into the mix a little bit with the only birdie. I say that Evelina did birdie hole 1, but for all intents and purposes, she was basically just a vessel of a player that was not relevant at any point in this round, sadly. But she did literally win Worlds last year, so like, I think she'll be okay. Also, Evelina had 48 strokes gained tee to green, insane, 32 better than Owen, and Owen had 24 strokes gained putting and 41 strokes gained putting differential between Owen and Evelina. And so despite the early stroke separation by Owen, like amazing putts on holes 2 and 4, the holes just kept going and going, and it seemed like Owen really wasn't going to be in the mix, even though she was playing probably the best out of anybody in this final round, because ultimately there was a decent lead with Henna and Ida, but they really were not showing it all too well. And then Owen's like, actually, I kind of want to win this World, so I'm just gonna knock down 3 back-to-back C2 putts, going from holes 7 to 9, immediately clearing out those bogeys that she had earlier in the round. So for me at that point, I was like, okay, is Owen actually going to be in the mix and like potentially win this thing? Like the idea started to creep in, but I was like, no, like that's just not a reality because she's still like a couple strokes back. And then Henna really started to separate from the rest, or you could say Ida just kind of fell short because she really lost her focus on holes 10 through 12, going 3 over with 3 bogeys. But then I feel like hole 13 was that critical moment where Owen was pushing and knew that she would have to do something heroic to really put herself in contention. And man, did she throw an absolute dime of a drive.
How does she do it?
Probably one of the best drives I've ever seen because she was pretty tucked away and she threw an insane forehand right to the basket through the trees from I think about 250 feet. And so after that drive, Henna missed a putt for par, which feels like it's becoming the trend. And now Owen is going to be in the mix. So we have a 3-way battle for the first, but then a new player emerges, and that is Ella. A player that started 12 strokes back of the leader at the start of the round, 12 strokes behind in Worlds. Super not a contender, you would think. But no, she is a contender because she was playing out of her damn mind. And I mean, she's had some really good rounds. I don't want to like degrade what she's done in the past, but you would not guess how good of a round she was playing with what I believe to be 12 under at this point, putting her at about 9 under. And I think these scores to beat were going to be about 10, 11, and maybe 12 under. So it looked like, okay, there is a world where Ella comes out of absolutely nowhere and wins this thing. And then right after that, hole 14 is where Lehtmäki has a return to form and looks to gain strokes on Henna with an amazing, albeit lucky drive to the basket. But then Henna immediately follows it up with a great shot of her own because she's like, oh yeah, I can play disc golf. But speaking of Owen, she shanks it into the creek leading to a par. So scores are still basically the same. So we move on to 15. Henna is leading and really just needs to play conservative to get the win, but then goes OB on 15, whereas Owen and Ida birdie. And then on 16, it looked like, okay, Henna, just play safe and you got it. She goes OB off the drive and then OB on the island.
Blomroos deep out of bounds for the second time on 16.
Leading to Henna's lead immediately getting crushed because Owen and Lehtmäki birdie that hole, which is amazing to see because I really feel like the stress could have gotten to Ida, but the fact that it didn't really shows how much of a mature player she is. And then on 17, Owen has a drive that immediately goes into the out of bounds, but is within circle's range, and Ida does the same. And so it looks like if Henna can get a birdie on either of these holes, she will be a world champion. But then out of nowhere, if you want to call it out of nowhere, because it still feels kind of predictable, she misses a 13-footer. And having watched it, I couldn't believe myself. Literally the winner, literally the person in the lead of Worlds misses a 13-footer. So we move on to hole 18. And at this point, it feels like Henna is just mentally already out of it, so I didn't think she'd be in the mix. But Ida and Henna take pretty solid pars. And then Owen has a very conservative drive, really good upshot, and then basically parks it for an easy birdie. And so somehow those scores lead to a tie with Ida, with the ironic twist that it was 10 under, and Ella Hansen could have just played for par and would have gone into playoffs had she known this was going to happen. She never could have known, but she was actually playing the hole for eagle. And we know Ella crushes and definitely could have made it happen, but on her upshot, she goes OB and has to rethrow from about 70 feet away. And then on her par putt, she misses it just nearly right, leading to a bogey, putting her one stroke back of the leaders. So you can never play what ifs, but she could have potentially won just by playing for an easy birdie. And I actually got to speak with her after the round, and here's what she had to say.
Mixed feelings, some disappointment, obviously, in being so close to potentially winning a playoff. Really proud of myself for how I played today. I feel like I made a lot of mistakes earlier in the week, so I can kind of point out a lot of reasons why I didn't win. And it's easy to stick on one, but I'm also, proud of how I played overall. And my best round of all time today, so that's pretty cool.
Were you thinking, I'm going to make this, or were you kind of having a little bit of self-doubt?
I made a mistake. I was going for it, and I felt like the error was to miss left, and I didn't miss left. I missed right, so that was pretty disappointing, because if I miss left, I still give myself a pretty good chance to get up and down for par. And then, missing that putt on the green, my first missed putt of the day, felt, again, like, it's easy to fixate on those mistakes, but I also missed a bunch of short putts earlier in the week. And mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Overall. I know I have a lot of potential, and so it's cool to put it mostly together today. Yeah, you have to attack this course in order to be successful, in order to score, for sure. You can't really be timid. I don't know. I think in the past I've felt a lot of mental stress when putting, especially with crowds, and just feeling pressure with wanting things to go a certain way. I think, if we really want to get into it, I think shame is a super powerful feeling, and it can really, my feelings of shame sometimes when I think I'm not a good putter or I miss short putts, super powerful. So, I don't know. I just felt like I was mostly in a flow state today. I felt energized by the crowd, which I don't think is a way I normally would feel, but I was just kind of accepting what was happening and trying to keep it rolling.
But that's not the end. We have officially the first FPO playoff between Owen and Ida.
Back to the tee of 18.
And right off the bat, I want to reiterate, there's so much tension. There is so many people rooting for Ida, obviously Finns, but also people that just want to root for the young up-and-comer. And then immediately Owen throws it into the out of bounds. And Ida throws a very conservative but very good drive, and then her upshot goes into probably the perfect landing zone, and Owen does the same. And then Ida just needs to throw a little chip up shot to secure her first world title. And then absolute disaster strikes because she misses it and doesn't cross into the inbounds and has to putt from about 55 feet. Now Owen threw her upshot about 15 feet to the basket, and she's going to make that. So for some reason, Ida decides I will just pitch up, banking on the fact that Owen is going to miss a 15-footer. Spoiler, she does not, and Owen becomes a first-time world champion. It feels unreal to say because, there were so many points where Henna and Ida, or Ella, could have won this, should have won this, but that's not the world we live in. Owen, the dog, has officially become a world champion. She has Masters, but now she's officially FPO world champion. And my jaw dropped. I think everyone there's jaw dropped because you are in Finland. You have everybody rooting for Finnish people. You have two Finns that were leading the entire duration of this event, and then this happened. But having said that, you can never count Owen out. She has been through so many stressful moments in tournaments, leading to her taking this win. The stress definitely got to Ida, and that's probably why she lost. But for Own, making a 36, 42, 42, 39, 52, and 39 footer all in the same final round of Worlds is an astonishing achievement, even if it was an MPO round. And she went on to state in her interview how hard she works because she can't throw great distance. She in general can only be the best putter and works incredibly hard to be that person. And I've seen it firsthand at Des Moines Challenge, where me and Broderick were playing just like a solo round, and then I see this person putting with like a lot of intensity. I'm like, wait, who is that? It looks like Own. It was Own. She was just putting just by herself at like 8 or 9 o'clock with no one around her, just putting, because this is what she does every single day to be the best disc golfer that she can be. So the fact that she was able to win Worlds doesn't ultimately surprise me. The way she did it was actually crazy, but the fact that she is the person that really took this win feels very fitting. Now, there are probably so many alternative realities where you could say, what if this happens? What if that happens? It's really not super productive, but we can say for certainty that Own is in the elite series of world champions.
I was practiced so hard. I partying, like I tried to go there, like arrive here like more than an hour, and then just party. I know I could not throw far as other competitors, but only one thing, if I want to birdie just like they do, I have to make a lot of putt. I have to make a long putt too. So because my drive is very, very good inside the circle, so most of the time I have to putt from outside. But I know that's only one thing I can work on it.
And if you're anything like me, you want disc golf shoes that will give you versatility, grip, and shoes that are actually waterproof. Look no further than the Vessi Stormburst High Top. I have been loving these shoes for coming on years now, and they served me well at Worlds, where I walked over 45 miles with these, and there is no other shoe that I would pick, providing a premium experience and great comfort. So if you want to grab one of your own, go to vessi.com/wildruns and save 15% off your first order. I know if you try these out, you will not be disappointed. And also I heard an insane amount of people mention how this was potentially a scoring mishap because PDJ had some scoring discrepancies, and that is why Ita laid up, not knowing that the score was actually wrong. Ita obviously knew. She is not an idiot. It is one player to track for one hole. And she truthfully, I don't think this is what I would have done, but she truthfully thought she had a better chance of forcing Ohm to make the putt than to actually run it herself. And I mean, at this point, while I don't agree with the decision, it is very clear that Ita does not push anything she is not truly comfortable with. So maybe in some worlds, this could have been a rational decision. But when this is Own you're talking about, she can make this in her absolute sleep. So there was no world she was ever going to miss this. But it is very interesting how many people were like, she just was talking to her dad and her dad gave her misinformation, or she looked at scores and she was like, oh, okay, I just need to like lay up and I'm good. Like that was not the case. But not only that, she also said she would have done it again even after the fact, because she just knows she's not going to make that putt. But let's move on to MPO. There's so much to say about this particular round, with 6 people in the mix, with the chase contenders being Niklas and Gossage, and lead card being Aderhold, Solly, AB, and Gannon. With Niklas obviously being the hometown hero, I just had to film him the entire duration of this final round. I also am like a huge Niklas fan. But honestly, this is one of those chase card rounds where the crowds were almost certainly bigger than lead card. And there was tremendous love for Niklas. Like, obviously we're in Finland, there's gonna be a lot of Niklas fans, but I mean, they yell and roar every time he makes anything, even like a 10-foot putt. And right off rip, Niklas and Gossage were pushing the leaders right away, with Niklas perfect through 4 and Gossage 5 under through 6, quickly catching up and forcing lead card to absolutely show up. And initially, the top players, being Ezra and Gannon, were off to a kind of slow start. It doesn't really sound slow, like they still were getting a decent amount of birdies, but any pars you take on this course feels like a bogey. So quickly, Solly and AB start to push, making them feel like the leaders, with AB going 7 under through 10 and Solly going 6 under through 9, with Solly making some amazing putts. But I want to reiterate, any par you get has a crazy feeling of feeling like a bogey, so when you actually get bogeys, it feels like your entire tournament is over. And so with that, let's bring up Solly, who had 3 brutally close OBs on 10-11, leading to a +3 through 2 holes, putting him effectively out of it, even after such a great tournament, so many people rooting for Solly, but after that, it was a GG. And then after AB was catching so much steam with another near perfect round, he cools off quick, going OB on 15 again, and then missing the island for 16, putting him out of it. So the remaining contenders end up being Gannon and Chase Card, which at the start of the day, I was not fully convinced that was going to happen because Niklas and Gossage were 5 back, going 12 under through 14, making every putt, hitting his drives near perfectly, and Gossage was kind of doing the same thing. Then we move on to 15, where they both know that they have to push, because Gannon is picking up steam quick, and it seems like if you do not birdie out, you're probably not going to win this. So knowing that they have to push, they both push the right side on 15, Niklas goes out of bounds, and Gossage barely makes it through the brush on the right side, being a circle 1 putt. So after that bogey for Niklas and Gossage carding birdie, they're now tied, and then they absolutely crush 16, making it look easy, so it becomes a battle of 17-18. And this is where it gets a little squirrely. Niklas parks it, and it is a tremendously good shot. But Gossage, much like every forehand I see on this hole, it has the very unlucky roll, goes into the out of bounds. He does make his par, but now he knows that he is kind of out of it because Gannon is just a little bit too far ahead to really feel like he can birdie and win. So going into 18, it feels like Niklas has to birdie to win this, or at least push a play. And he executes all of his shots great, but his upshot just gets a little bit too far right, almost hits the out of bounds, and he's left with like a 50-footer that he has to run because there's just no way Gannon's going to bogey this. And so his putt was just a little bit too lofty, a little bit too far left, goes in the out of bounds, and it is a GG for Niklas. And literally at this same moment, Gannon goes into the out of bounds the exact same way as Gossage, rolling from circle 1 into the out of bounds and misses the putt for par. But because he was a couple strokes ahead, he knew he just had to get par on 18 to win this. And I mean, honestly, even in this high intense pressure, 18 is still just a chip shot for par, so he easily gets it and becomes a first-time world champion.
It's a little bittersweet. I was telling Ezra this, at the beginning of the week, if I had known that I'd played this well this week, I'd probably be happy about it. But when you do it and lose by 1, it feels a little extra, a little bit of hurt to it. So it's a weird situation because, it's probably some of the best golf I've played, but I'm also losing at the end of the day. So weird situation, but I'm feeling a little bit better about this one than in 2022. Yeah, I've got a lot of confidence in my putting stroke right now. I've been putting a lot of work into it, and I think it's making a really big difference, and it kind of, exudes throughout the rest of my game. So definitely playing confident out there, and it's a really good feeling. Honestly, I just came out and was like, I have to birdie out. I got to shoot 15 today, and at that point I was like, hey, I'm 6 holes from the end, and if I birdie out, I could win. And if I had, I would have won. So it's a good mindset to have, and it was possible at the time. I missed 1 circle 1 putt. It's about the only thing I would have taken differently. Obviously, I missed a few gaps and a couple shots, but that happens.
Shot perfection through 14 holes. How did that feel?
Today felt good. Yeah, good day on the course. I don't know what to say. I still lost the tournament, so I'm not too happy.
How do you maintain your composure in these high stress moments?
I don't know. Seems like not good enough. It just sucks to lose 2 times in a row. I don't know what to say. I'm still happy how I was able to play today and give a run at least. That's all I can do. But just disappointed.
How did it feel to have everyone rooting your name in Finland, being the hometown hero?
I mean, that was the best part of this week. There was so many Finnish people watching. They were all cheering for me and all the Finnish players as well. I was just super lucky to be alive and be a Finnish disc golfer this week.
I personally have had many thoughts like Worlds is just a tournament. There's a lot of spectator hype around it, but I struggled to see why one tournament means infinitely more than the rest. But after this week, I get it. Players obviously care about every win, but this win truly does hold so much more weight. And while next week, I bet not that many people are going to be devastated about losing, this week, there was visibly people crying, people having so many upset emotions, and you can feel it in the players' demeanor. They're not really trying to act. This is just who they are, and this really meant so much. So having to see so many players downtrodden after the round was a very surreal and sad experience. And I didn't interview AB, but he was definitely defeated after this round. But on the flip side of that, you can really see why this sport truly does matter so much to so many people. It can feel unimportant at times, but when you get to truly see the players as people and see the experiences they go through every round, fighting for the world title and being cemented in the legacy of disc golf, it truly cannot be understated. And not only that, this is a truly record-breaking turnout, bringing so much legitimacy to a once small, quirky sport of disc golf. So is it mainstream yet? Probably not, but so many people were here that were not disc golfers. And I've heard them say they love the experience, they had no clue how big disc golf truly was, and they said it was a super fun experience. And I think that just adds to why disc golf is so great. You don't have to be an expert, you can still just love watching the disc fly and seeing these players give their hearts out to win an event. So overall, while it didn't end the way that I preferred it to end, I think Bert and Owen are amazing people. I actually think Owen's probably one of my favorite players ever. But to not see a hometown win does feel a little bit brutal with so many Finnish fans out there. But this has definitely been one of those times where if you were not there on site, you really don't grasp how big this truly felt. So was it the best Worlds of all time? No, not really. But it was amazing, and it's something I will truly never forget. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Huge shout out to Vessi, the sponsor of today's video. And with that, Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.